The article goes, atheists living in 13 countries risk being condemned to death just for their beliefs or non-belief, according to a new comprehensive report for the International Humanist and Ethical Union out on Tuesday. All 13 countries identified by the study are Muslim majority. The countries that impose these penalties are Afghanistan, Iran, Malaysia, Maldives, Mauritania, Nigeria, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. With the exception of Pakistan, those countries all allow for capital punishment against apostasy, i.e., the renunciation of a particular religion, which means if you are in a country that does not allow you to commit apostasy, that means that if you try to become not a Muslim, they will kill you. Pakistan, meanwhile, imposes the death penalty for blasphemy, which can obviously include disbelief in God. The report is more comprehensive, and a more comprehensive version of a similar study released last year that identified just 7 countries where atheists face capital punishment, only half of this year's total. It also found much more widespread discrimination against atheists around the world. Although not on the list of 13, Bangladesh received some special attention in the report as a particular low light. Several non-religious and atheist bloggers and journalists in the country have faced death threats and harassment this year in the wake of a series of government prosecutions for blasphemy. One blogger was murdered with a machete outside of his home. The report also incorporates assessments of general free speech protections in each country. Russia earned significant criticism in part because of its anti-LGBT propaganda laws, and North Korea, an aggressively secular state, received the report's lowest rating of grave violations. Because of the U.S.'s strong constitutional free speech protections and lack of an official state religion, the country fared moderately well in the report, earning a mostly satisfactory rating. But the IHEU had some cautionary notes on how atheists are actually treated in the U.S., criticizing a range of laws that limit the role of atheists in regards to public duties, or else entangle the government with religion to the degree that being religious is equated with being an American and vice versa. Those laws include constitutional provisions still on the books in 7 states: Arkansas, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas, barring atheists from holding public office. And the report goes on to explain in detail the restrictions and punishments of not just the 13 countries that sentence anyone for blasphemy or apostasy to death, but 31 countries that put you in prison and 11 countries that just penalize you. So the most surprising to me was the 4 countries that are 6 countries that are more Western countries that have blasphemy laws that can put you in jail. Iceland, Denmark, New Zealand, Poland, Germany, and Greece. You can serve anywhere from 3 months to 3 years for blasphemy in those countries. So there's still a long way to go, and there's a total in that report of 55 countries that have blasphemy laws. And Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Iran actually execute you for blasphemy.
Death sentence, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a real problem, and it's very disturbing that the problem is this widespread. You would think that we would by now have overcome a lot of this, but that's all I've got.
Religion has a stronghold. What do you expect? Negation, Ned.
Yeah, well, to me,
for the most part, sorry.
Sorry, I mean, those countries are absolutely, it's horrific to think that still goes on in 2014, basically. But, my focus on this was what's going on in the U.S. I mean, what's happened, and I'll just run, and these are some of the small things I picked out of the main study. And one thing that was telling for me is on the article on the website, it didn't have one of the little markers on the U.S. as far as saying that we are discriminatory against atheists, which is amazing. They just left it off for some reason. I wonder why that was.
I was going to say that too. Damn it.
Exactly. I mean, it's about the only country that doesn't have one. In fact, freaking even well, anyhow, I'm not going to get there. But anyway, but here's what's happened. And we'll just go back to 2011. House of Representatives approved the resolution reaffirming that "In God We Trust" is the nation's motto. 2011 again in South Carolina, the prisoners in one of the county detention centers were denied all reading material except the Bible. You had to read the Bible if you wanted to read. 2012, Oklahoma teenager that pled guilty for drunk driving, he got 10 years of probation as long as during that 10 years he went to church every Sunday. Had to go for 10 years. Has to go for 10 years. I
remember that shit. Yeah.
Exactly. 80 soldiers at one of the Army forts. The general there punished them because they wouldn't go to a Command General Spiritual Fitness rock concert. Again, all this is recent. 2013. Myrtle Grove Christian School. Now, this school gets funds from the state. It's not just a completely private school. Made their students and family members sign a voucher that said families promise they will not support or participate in any homosexual activity. Mississippi High School held mandatory religious services that promoted Christianity. Now, the American Humanist Association's got a lawsuit that's still being on that one. Now, here's the one that really bothers me. Like Matthew said, we got 7 states that have constitutional. Now remember, it's in the state constitution. It's written in the Constitution. Arkansas says, no person who denies the being of God shall hold any office. Maryland, no religious test ought ever be required for a qualification of any state other than the declaration of the belief of the existence of God. Mississippi, no person who denies the existence of a supreme being shall ever hold office in this state. North Carolina, the following person shall be disqualified for office. First, any person denying an almighty being. South Carolina, a person who denies the existence of a supreme being shall not hold any office under this Constitution. Tennessee, no person who denies God or future state of rewards and punishment shall hold any office. Texas, no religious test shall ever be required to hold office, provided the person acknowledges the existence of a supreme being. And even in Pennsylvania, it says no person who acknowledges the being of God and future state of rewards and punishment shall be denied qualification to hold any office. Now, that's bad enough, but there's even more, because there's more states out there that, because of the way the laws are written, you cannot be a jury member or you can't even serve as a witness. So if an atheist happens to see a rape going on, you're disqualified from even being a witness.
Hey, Negation, not to cut you off, or Ned, you got all the statistics and links for this shit so I could give to everybody, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sweet. Beautiful.
And,
okay.
And the last thing is there, just to be clear, now there is a state ruling out there right now that, or a national ruling that says that these are unconstitutional and you can't uphold basically all of these laws. But keep in mind, they're still on the books. They're still written into the state constitutions, which means all we have to have is one vote from the Supreme Court, and all of these are instantaneously back to where not only are they enforceable, but they can go and, depending on what's going on, kick people out of office, possibly overturn jury rulings and people that were sentenced because of all of these retroactive bullshit. Now, I don't know how likely that is to happen, but again, until they are wiped off the books, why in the hell is the United States not included in that list?
This graph right here actually gives you a good indication on what negation of P, and also Matthew were stating, especially the article Matthew just read, okay? Now, I'm going to play this right now. So when you go to green, of course, you can see what's going to go here in a little bit. Green, there's green. So when you look at green with the circles around the green, this is free and equal zone. These are countries that are free and equal. Now, when you go to the yellow, like negation said, the United States is yellow. Mostly satisfactory. That's what yellow means. Now, when you go to the next one here, when it moves, is the orange. It's a systemic discrimination, okay? That would be the orange. Now, this is where you get to the severe parts, guys. Number 4 here will be the severe, or the red, I should say, is severe discrimination against the atheist. And the last is the grave discrimination. You know, and a lot of these countries in the black here, not all of them, but many of them include the death sentence. You know, just like, you know, Matthew stated, you know. It's pretty sad. So that's all I really want to go over was just, I think it's a really cool graph. It's a really good animation, so I will incorporate that also. The link will be in the description box when this video comes out. So that's all I got to say on that, because you guys covered a lot of shit there. So how about we get on to, if you guys have nothing else to say, let's get into CUDA report, huh?
I do. I have something
sure, go ahead.
quick.
Yeah, go.
I've got a personal friend that is from Somalia, which is one of those countries, who moved to Saudi Arabia, which is another one of those countries. That both of those countries are the ones that can put you to death for apostasy, and they're both primarily Muslim countries. And this friend then moved to the Philippines to escape that situation, and the discrimination and abuse, poor treatment is terrible even in the Philippines. The Philippines is a primarily Christian, Catholic country. And the treatment that she's receiving there is just as bad as she was receiving in Saudi Arabia. She's being threatened sexually, and it's really a bad situation. And we have to remember that this is not a Muslim problem. It's not a Christian problem. It is a separation of church and state problem. These countries have religious laws on the books that make it basically enforced that you have to be religious, and it's only because we have that protection, that secular protection here in the United States and in Canada, that we are able to enjoy real quality of life and not have to worry about that sort of oppression. So the Christians in the U.S. and in Canada and other Western countries, they may feel persecuted from time to time by liberal ideologies and us denigrating their beliefs, but the separation that's going on goes both ways. It protects everyone, and we can only hope that these other countries will find a way to reach the same sort of level of fairness that we've established.